Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Card Talk, a podcast where we spend a little bit of time talking about cards from The Lord of the Rings, the living card game. My name is Dave Walsh.
And I'm Grant Thompson, just along for the ride. And today we are talking about Bilbo Baggins. Now, not to be confused with the Lorse version or the Spirit version, this is the Baggins version from the Saga expansions. He is probably my favourite version of Bilbo. He costs 0. He's got 1 willpower, 1 attack, 1 defense, and 3 hit points. Which reads, Bilbo Baggins does not count as a hero against the hero limit, cannot gain resources from non-treasure cards. The first player gains control of Bilbo, and then you can spend one of his resources to search your deck for a treasure card and add it to your hand. And if he dies, he leaves the game. But with 3 hit points, he's almost comparable to Eowyn for that. And his ones across the board can be amplified with the treasure cards as instructed. So, David, what's your opinion on the Doorstep Baggins?
When we did the lore version of Bilbo, and we talked about how important getting Frodo and Bilbo right were, and how horrible, in my opinion, they did with the lore Bilbo, I think that this Bilbo is still right on the mark thematically with what you want in the Saga expansion, or the Saga sets for the Hobbit. He fits the bill. He was a rookie adventurer. He wasn't very strong. He grew into some of his physical strength that he had when he was fighting off the spiders, and he grew into a lot of those things, and so that's what is reflected in his abilities and his stat line. That 3 hit points is high for a Hobbit, but not unreasonable. And I think for a hero to have 3 hit points, I think it matches him. So I think that this card is the version of Bilbo that the game got exactly right. The fact that you can spend the resource and search your deck for a treasure, that's what he was billed as. A hero, as a burglar. So to be able to search through your deck, it kind of matches that ability. It's the only card in the game that has the keyword burglar in it, and I think that's fun. It stinks that this card can't be used in the regular game because it's 0 threat cost. It can only be used when you're doing the Saga set within the rules of the game. I mean, you and I have had tons of conversations about doing whatever you want just because it's fun, and that's fine. But but within the rules of the game, you can't use this version of Bilbo. So, but I love it. What do you think?
I love this version of Bilbo, and just to correct you on one thing, there is one event that is Burglar, which is Burglar Baggins.
That's right. You're right.
In all honesty, I believe that this version of Bilbo is probably one of the best versions of Bilbo I have played with. And I have even went so far as to give him a threat of 9, put his stats the same as Lore Bilbo except for the HP, and made his ability so that I could spend 1 lore resource to look for an attachment and add it to my hand. I have jerry-rigged on the Doorstep Bilbo to make him a bit better than Lore Bilbo, which quite frankly wasn't that hard. But right. In all senses of the word, this Bilbo, with his action to spend 1 resource to add a treasure card from your deck to your hand, if you manage to go through the entire series of The Hobbit from over hill and under hill and pick up all the treasures from each scenario, you'll end up with something like 9 treasures or something, I think it is. 2 of them you've seen already have 2 versions of themselves. You've got Glamdring and Sting. both have appeared in both Saga expansions and have exactly the same effects, just with different titles. Obviously, in the Lord of the Rings saga, they are boon cards, whereas in the Hobbit saga, the treasures.
The thing that I want to get back to, though, is that ability to draw the treasure. I think that fits thematically exactly with who Bilbo is. You know, there are the treasures, the Mithril Coat, the Arkenstone, all these things that get added to your deck as you're playing the saga, and to be able to use Bilbo to get that stuff out of your deck and I believe all the treasure is 0 cost. That's
correct.
And so you're not paying anything for that treasure, and I think that that's what makes the treasure.
Yeah, I mean, Throw's Battle Axe is another one that I hide on Bilbo more out of the fact that I wasn't defending with him in the Battle of the Five Armies. So it was like, you know what, I'm not questing with him, I'm not defending with him. He's got Sting, so he's got a +1 to all his stats. I'm going to high on Throw's Battle Axe. I thought that was mint, thinking of a hobbit swinging this giant axe round.
Right. It's kind of funny.
It was just, yeah. And that's why I think playing Bilbo the way I do, I mean, yes, I know technically I shouldn't jerry-rig Bilbo the way I have.
Well, but that's the fun of the game, right? And we've talked about that before. That's the fun of it.
Yeah, but it's just a case of, well, what else am I going to do with
right?
If I want to play Bilbo, I'm going to have to play one of the other iterations of him, because you're not going to sit and play Law Bilbo.
Right. We made that abundantly clear in our Bilbo in our first Bilbo episode. Focusing on his other ability, I think that, or his other restriction there, that he doesn't get, he can't gain resources from non-treasure cards. I think that that's thematic. I hate it because you can't put a steward on him, or he can't do all those things.
It's awful.
So all those resource generation things, you can't do, especially in the context of the game where you're trying to spend, resources, when you're riddles in the dark where you have to spend resources in order to get more chances to match up the things. But I think that again thematically fits with who he was. He was kind of a fish out of water. He was adventuring with a whole bunch of dwarves. He wasn't able to use their stuff to some degree, so to think about him not gaining resources from other sources, that kind of makes sense. He had to make his own way in the world. The dwarves never trusted him until after they got out of the caves, and they were rescued by him.
Actually, I think they started trusting him more from the battle against the wolves. Well, film-wise, they trusted him from where he saved Thorin's backside from the Azog.
From the wargs, yeah.
In the book, it's more along the lines of they started trusting him more when Gandalf left them outside of Mirkwood, and Bilbo showed his true courage and showed his fierceness to save his friends.
We should mention that the fact that he doesn't count against your hero limit, I mean, I get that that's the point. You get another hero, but when you have cards like Merry, where you get +1 attack for every Hobbit hero, wow, Merry becomes a beast really quick if you're running a Hobbit deck, and that's actually the trigger that I use. Is I run Hobbit solo, so I have 3 Hobbit heroes, plus I have Bilbo, so that means that Merry is swinging for 4. By the time Merry gets going, he's already 4 to begin with in the Saga expansions, even when you're running it in the
official capacity.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter which saga, whether you're doing the Hobbit or the Lord of the Rings, because Frodo is the hero in that deck, so, or in those scenarios. So you get 4 right off the rip, and then you get a dagger out, and so now you're at 6 without trying, basically.
Okay, so I think we've exhausted all possibilities for Bilbo from the Baggins sphere. What would you ring him as, David?
So, Bilbo, man, I like him. I wish he were a general hero. I think they got him right in this case. So I think that Bilbo from On the Doorstep is going to have to be a 3 for me. I think that he is an all-around good character. He would be better if he were a regular hero, and probably I would put him on the order of a 2 if he were from one of the normal spheres or a neutral hero, but because of his limited usage in the game in general, I have to give him the 3. If it's just for the scenarios, or for the saga scenarios, I think I would probably go a little bit more, but so I'm going to stick with a 3. How about you, Grant?
I'll agree with that. A 3 is probably the ideal rating for him. I mean, I break the rules all the time when it comes to this. As I've discussed in this episode, I don't care. People can hate me. I play for fun. If I'm playing with other people who are stingent about the rules, then I don't do it. But otherwise, if I'm just having fun and I'm just wanting a chill game, I'll do it. And 9 times out of 10, a 3 rating. I'd like to see a new iteration of Bilbo, maybe following what they did in the Baggins sphere, in one of the other spheres, leadership, tactics, or spirit. I'd get behind that. I'd use them. Because nothing can be as bad as low Bilbo. I know many people will be like, oh, you're just hating on Bilbo because you've got nothing else to hate on. And that's totally not true. There are plenty of other cards that I could be hating on. Loin. Bilbo is and always will be a good hero in this sphere.
Join us next time as we discuss Sam Gamgee, the hero from the leadership sphere, another Hobbit, I guess, and have a great day.